Welcome to Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings, with me, Gretta Chamberlain, Yvonne Leigh, and the Realm of Beings. Shifting Impressions, which is one of the vehicles that supports the transmission of the Realm of Beings, is here to assist you in delving into your being by providing numerous topics and discussions for you to intake as you deepen your connection with your inner world. Shifting Impressions is here to assist you in strengthening yourself as you excavate to understand your true nature. Leigh, Yvonne, and myself, with the Realm of Beings, eagerly invite you to join us today and learn to shift your mindset, shift your thoughts, and shift your focus to recreate your life and produce a new you. Shifting Impressions starts now.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings. I'm Leigh, and I'm joined by Gretta and, of course, the Realm of Beings. We are very happy to be on Transformation Talk Radio every Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can also find us after the live stream on Facebook and Transformation Talk Radio on Spotify and iTunes. So thank you for listening. When you hear that term, Realm of Beings, you may ask yourself, who are they? How do they operate in our lives? Why are they coming through with these messages now? Do we all receive guidance? And if we do, how can we learn to use it in order to flow through our lives with ease? These conversations will help you to examine your life and your creation of reality. They will help you to shift your impressions and understand what you're creating in your life and how it shows up. So, hi, Gretta. How are you today? We're right in time for Christmas.
Christmas, Hanukkah, Diwali,
Kwanzaa, everything.
Everything's coming up during this month. Yeah, all celebrations of light.
A new year, everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I think in that vein, we chose this quotation because it's talking about peace. So let there be peace on earth and love between humans. And the quote we'll be discussing today is, "Be at peace within your creation of reality, for you are all." And I know that you can be listening to this podcast out of sequence, but on last week's podcast, we were talking about the force and how we are the force. Believe it or not, we are. So this seems to be a little bit of a continuation of that, saying that, be at peace with your creation of reality, for you are all. So let's start shifting some impressions. Gretta, what say you on this quote?
For about peace, I think everybody, and I'm being very loose when I say that. In other words, that I'm going to step out and speak for everybody, that everybody wants peace. However, peace is according to what we think peace is. What you think is peace may not be what I think is peace. So it has a lot of, we can attach a lot of connotations to it. A lot of cultural framework can be attached to that word peace. Peace in the Amazon rainforest may not be the same conceptualization as peace in Paris, France. So it varies.
Yes, I mean, I can understand that. We, I think, checked a, known source, and it was defined as the normal, non-warring condition of a nation, group of nations, or the world. So, I mean, that's sort of narrow, just talking about non-warring. I mean,
not only that, but when you read the definition, That is the definition of that individual or that editor who put that dictionary together. So that is that person's definition of peace that fits their perspective. You see, it's still going down to perspective. What is your perception of peace? See, one person's perception of peace would be to eliminate a certain race of people or a certain ethnic group. That would bring me peace if that ethnic group was not there with me. You see. So it has a lot of connotations. I know when we think about it, okay, everything's okie dokie and, beautiful experiences. But if we start to look at the world, then we can see that peace has a lot to it. But I think here in the Western world, there's one sense of peace. By ethnicity, there's one sense of peace, you see. So that's kind of where I'm coming from with that. I think that when they said be at peace in your creation of reality, that means it's okay. I think in one of the podcasts, you said that, Leigh, it's okay, whatever we create, it's okay. And right. It is.
That's important. I mean, I do think that, as I was opening the podcast when we were talking about, the time of year, so let's have peace on earth. And I mean, I do think the general broad view is, some kind of a semblance of harmony between people, right? I mean, but you do bring up a good point where, we can parse hairs so finely, and, these impressions that we have can kind of shift in, with the pendulum swing, right? Because I don't know, maybe before you even brought it up, it wouldn't really occur to me because, as you're 100% correct, I come from a different social and cultural framework. So it's not necessarily on my mind that, that group of people over there, should be eliminated. And if they were, everything would be peaceful then. So that kind of puts a new spin on things a little bit.
Absolutely. And see, there's another word that you said just a few minutes ago that would fall into the same category as peace. And that word is harmony. Harmony is also going to be based on where you're thinking, where your cultural framework is, where your belief system is, where your experiences are. Look how many people were in harmony with Hitler.
Right.
That was harmony. That was harmony. And then the destruction of people that didn't look like him, or that was his perception of it, is that, that was peace for him. It was going to bring about more peace if a certain groups of people were eliminated. Literally, certain groups of people, because there were many people inside those concentration camps, and that's not making any less of the Jewish experience in there.
Right. Now, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, well, I was just, when you were speaking, it just seems like initially when we look at this word peace, we kind of see it very surface oriented, but it seems that, and see, here we go again, because we're going to start talking about separation. I think initially we might think that peace would be joining, right? Like joining in a harmony. But then, like you were just saying, like one person's cultural framework of harmony is kumbaya, and another person's definition of harmony is, okay, let's all join together to, eradicate, this set of circumstances or whatever. But I think it's like a fork of the fear-love road, right? It depends on what your foundation of peace is. Is your foundation of peace based on the love foundation, or is it based on the fear foundation? I know we're kind of going into duality and separation, but I don't know. It seems like that's what we have to transcend in this earth experience, human experience.
Right. But see, even the transcendence in an experience, is going to be on where are we at? See, where are we at? Where is my personality at? Where is your personality at? For that peace, for that harmony, for that reality that I've created. Where am I? Look at the, serial killers have their own sense of peace. Their sense of peace is the destruction of another human being. That brings them a certain amount of psychological peace, you see. So peace is really a strong word, and it takes on a lot. It encompasses a lot more than what
meets the eye initially.
Right. We wouldn't think of that. But see, the other part to this quote is, be at peace with your creation of reality. So then that's talking about self too. That's going, so far we've been talking outside of self since we started today, but it's a reflection on inside. Be at peace with your creation of reality. In other words, don't beat up on yourself just because you created that. Undo it, because some people, people that I've worked with in this, that they see themselves as unworthy. They see themselves as unworthy. Now, this becomes really important. When you see yourself as unworthy, then you're going to call to yourself things that are going to support you in being unworthy. See, the support comes to support you where you are at. So if you're feeling unworthy, then you're going to bring all of these things to you that make you feel unworthy. Now get this. This is the interesting part about it. When I bring all of this to support me in feeling unworthy because I feel that I am unworthy, that is my peace.
Now you threw me for a loop on that one, because that's your peace. Because you wouldn't necessarily, I guess, again, it's about where you are in your awareness. I mean, if you're not noticing, if you're not aware of your creations and you don't have awareness that you are doing all of this, and you create that unworthiness because that's what you know, right? That's like the known. So that's why you're saying you would feel peaceful there, because it's not the unknown. This is, what you've been creating for a long time now.
Right.
So unless you have that little tap on the shoulder we were talking about to do some self-examination and see like, oh, hey, I don't want to feel like this anymore. What can I do to try and change this situation? That's where the awareness comes. See, I never really thought of that either. It is just that, where you are, but
a word that I would use with that is comfortable. I'm comfortable feeling unworthy. I'm comfortable in that. So consequently, when I bring the unworthiness to me again, I'm comfortable there. So therefore, I'm at peace there. Another example that I would give would be with women or men, they're looking for a mate, right? So they find this mate, be it however they attract this particular person to. And one thing they'll tell me, they say, oh, this person is wonderful. This person is my soul mate, or twin flame, or all the other different things that they say. You know, I feel so comfortable around that person. Sometimes I shudder. I said, oh my goodness. And you know why I shudder? I said, because many of the people are in loops, which means they've been attracting the same person over and over and over and over and over again. So now they found a physical body of somebody new. The physical body is different. The person appears different, but yet the attraction of the energy is the same. That's why, excuse me, they feel so comfortable. So they're at peace with that. Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, so is a key to understanding, like when something starts to like, and maybe this is super basic, right? But when that like the uncomfortability creeping in is actually maybe a positive sign, right?
Right.
I mean, you know, positive, negative,
right.
but when that same old starts to not feel so good anymore, that's like sort of the impetus that changes due, or, you know, this is not peaceful anymore.
Right. But see, when they continuation of the loop with the individual that they've chosen to be with, they feel so comfortable. So they feel at peace with that. But then later on, as it goes, then they see that it's the same old, same old.
Right. Peace.
Peace. So you can be in peace with challenges. You see?
Because they're so familiar.
Yes. Yes. So be at peace in your creation of reality. But the thing is that what you want to realize, that especially when you begin to understand that you create your own reality, is that when you've created something that you don't particularly, that you've decided that you don't want to experience anymore, then you can always, note that word, I'm going to put that word in quotes, always change it.
Okay, that is so good to know. We are headed to our first break, so let's take a little pause on that thought. And thank you for listening to Shifting Impressions, Conversation with the Realm of Beings. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us on Shifting Impressions. I'm still Leigh, and this is still Gretta, and we are talking today about the quote, "Be at peace within your creation of reality, for you are all." So I think we were just getting to some good nuggets right there, Gretta, before the break, because that was super interesting what you said about, you know, sometimes we can be at peace with the things that are no longer serving us because that's what we're used to. But it's when those things that you're used to start to feel uncomfortable, like you're on to something. There's some little bit of gold there, right? So that deviation from peace is actually your, like, you know, your marker, your like red flag, like change is upon you, make a choice. This is no longer peaceful.
Right. You know, it's like, if I'd like to go back to when I was talking about, before we went on break, I was talking about relationships.
Yes.
And it's interesting because people, like I said before, they tell me that, you know, they feel so comfortable around the person, and, you know, they can talk for hours and, you know, that type of thing. But then when they meet somebody else, they'd say, well, I don't particularly like that person.
Mm-hmm.
I always suggest to them, well, still interact with that person a little bit. It's because they don't feel at quote unquote peace being with that person. And the
Okay,
reason
but
why, huh?
no, go ahead. No, finish. Maybe you'll answer my question.
I was just going to say, the reason they don't feel peace with that person is because that person doesn't fit their loop.
Mm.
So they can't feel that connectiveness. They're more connected to the loop that they have judged. Notice what I'm saying, that they have judged that is not a good loop. But they gravitate, but they gravitate toward people who support the loop for them.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And then they don't gravitate toward the people who don't fit that loop.
Anti-loop.
Yeah. So they miss out and they keep going.
Our producer just said, like Fruit Loops. Sometimes they are fruity. It just depends.
He likes Fruit Loops. See, now we created that. Thank you, Ken. You supported us in our laughter and our enjoyment of what we are doing on this podcast. So thank you for giving us that support. We appreciate it.
I wasn't going to say it. And then I was like, oh, that's kind of funny. So, but okay. So there are a couple of things that I think require some unpacking in the statement that you just made. So where do I begin to unpack? I hate unpacking and packing.
Don't say you hate it. Don't say you hate it. Because then you're really going to get something.
Okay. One of my least favorite things is to pack and unpack. Right. But there's sometimes gems in the unpacking. So see, you just have to shift your impression and find the gem. So we have these loops, and due to the peacefulness of the loop, we have a tendency to draw people to us that fill that loop to our creation, right? And then, see, when everything's peaceful, even if it may be unwanted, let's just say, because it's known. Mm-hmm. So we start to feel uncomfortable, that peace starts to degenerate and it becomes less wanted. So that seems to be a sign in the road that we are changing.
Yes.
I mean,
yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It's like in dealing with this, our podcast is based on people shifting impressions, which is based on transformation, which is based on changing. Transformation is not the easiest thing to do. So it can be unpeaceful to you or to anybody, to me even, because we're coming out of the familiar into the unfamiliar.
Yes.
So this quote, be at peace in your creation of reality. In other words, it's okay for us to change. It's okay for me to change. It's okay for me to leave that thought or that belief system behind and embrace this thought and this about anything. It's peace is that. It's okay. Okay is peace, regardless of what peace you're creating. Okay, it's okay. The reality. Some people create realities that we would never want to ever think of, But see, even the realities, when you're saying be at peace in your creation of reality, then you're recognizing that there's good in everything. There is good in everything that you create. Because what is the purpose here? One of the purposes is learning lessons.
Mm-hmm.
One of the purposes is learning lessons. So we are learning lessons, and that can be substituted with opportunities for our growth. Lessons, regardless of what they look like, are working for our good and are opportunities for our growth. Yes.
Yay. See, that's shifting impressions on disrupting the peace. See, there you go.
Yeah.
Because disrupting the peace seems, connotates there's some unwanted in that. And it may be challenging. It may not feel good. Most likely it will be uncomfortable, but like you come out of that on the other side and hopefully you've got some growth there. You've got some change. And I think like we did not come to this earth plane to be static beings. I mean, the part of the beauty of this illusion is, it can be so flippin' beautiful, and this illusion can be so unbelievably dynamic, right? And if it is true that we are source and we can create whatever we want, we just have an unlimited canvas for things then.
Yeah, all kinds of realities. All kinds of realities we create. Once I think I told you this personally, Leigh, that I was walking in Chinatown, where I live in Chicago, and fell flat on my face.
You did. I don't mean to laugh. And
I know. It's like, it's like I wanted to catch my husband. He was walking in front of me, and I saw myself grabbing the back of his pants, and I was going to hang on to it. But he was walking so fast that I missed it. And I said, okay, Greta, I'm talking to myself. It was like slow motion. I said, Greta, you're falling. I said, it's okay. Just don't hurt yourself. Just fall and don't hurt yourself. You're all right.
You hurt your pride, though. That happened to me.
I did. And you know what he said to me? He came back. He heard the crowd go, Right. And so he turns around. He wants to see, what are they going about? And then he sees me laying on the ground. He comes over to me and he says, why are you down there? I told him, I said, I'm not sure yet. I will figure it out later. But the one thing I was happy about, though, I was happy that I didn't fall into something that I didn't want to yucky on the sidewalk. It was a very clean sidewalk.
Oh, see, there's some good in that.
There's some good in that, there's some good in that. And then, I just laid there. And then another gentleman was there, and then they lifted me up, and I stood up, and I said, well, I'm back vertical again. Yeah.
I think it might be useful. I know we've covered this on another podcast, but if you're just joining us now, let's just take a split second to talk about that, one of the possible mental equivalencies of this falling. And I think you've shared with us before that slips and falls and whatnot are a physical manifestation of some sort of internal anger.
Yes, without a doubt. I knew I was angry, but at the moment, well, let me say this. I didn't know I was angry until I fell. And because I know mental equivalencies, then I said, I'm falling, I'm angry. But at the time, I did not know why I was angry. But I was angry when I got in the car. I kept thinking, okay, why on our way home, I kept thinking, Why am I angry? Why am I angry? And finally, I figured it out. I was angry about two people. But get this, Leigh. When I said, oh, I bruised my knee. When I pulled my pants leg up, because I had pants on, guess what I had? Now, remember, I was upset over two people. I had exactly two bruises on my knee. Yes, that fit the two people I was upset over.
Right. See, I think that's a big key because, I mean, you just, those things happen. And it happened to me a couple of months ago over the summer, and my pride was so wounded that I was on the sidewalk. I didn't even, I mean, and Jesus, there was a man, he looked just like Jesus. He like put down his hand to me to help me and my broken pride up. And I just looked at him and I was like, oh, thank you, Jesus. And went hobbling on my way to the nearest pharmacy. But, you know, knowing, having heard that story, I was able to take a pause and say, like, my first reaction was I wanted to blame that darn bollard in the sidewalk who should put that tripping hazard there. But then I had to take a minute and take a look inside, and I asked myself that question, but Leigh, what are you angry about? You know, and I came up with something. I mean, sometimes that happens to us. We're not even necessarily, you know, in a, you know, thinking consciously about that anger, but, you know, 10 minutes, 15 minutes before, we were having some sort of thought loop in our mind. And I was, when it happened, you know, just looking down at my phone, trying to find some podcast or something to listen to while I was walking somewhere. I wasn't necessarily thinking about those loops, but whammo, there it went down.
Right, right.
So
See,
that was my, you know, big physical manifestation to like, look at that and release it. Because look, do you want it to get worse than wrecking your knee and bruising your pride? Because it can. So just let it go now.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And that brings to mind when you say let it go now, is to give the audience one way of letting it go now.
Okay, for sure.
Yeah, and we call that the QDR, which stands for quick, displace, replace. QDR is the acronym. Quick, displace, replace. Displace is the process of getting rid of something you don't want. Replace is replacing it with the opposite of it that you want to experience. So it's like, for instance, and the words that you use are, I release all thoughts and emotions that support me. Now, in my case of falling down, or Leigh's case of falling down, we could say, I release all thoughts and emotions and events. We're releasing the event of falling. So I release all thoughts, emotions, and events that support me in being angry and falling down. And then the next part you have to do is the replacement. I love myself unconditionally. Now, in this process, those of you who have been with me and Leigh before, you know that if you're doing affirmations, we always tell you don't recognize that which you don't want. But in this QDR, you actually recognize what it is that you want to get rid of. So you want to get rid of the anger, you recognize it. And I release all emotions and thoughts and events, if there are any events there, conversations. You can even release things, attachments, I release. I am releasing all emotions and thoughts and these of these attachments to a certain person. You don't want to keep it, release it. But that QDR is an immediate reaction to it, to the thing right then and there. The thought that, what thought do I have in my mind that's causing this challenge for me? That is causing me not to feel peaceful.
Right.
In myself. Yeah.
Back to that peaceful, more harmonious within state, right? Because if we're holding on to some, past moment anger or conversation that is, ruining that, not ruining, that is like destabilizing our inner harmony. And we don't need that.
Right. The inner harmony that we have as the force. But see, then let us remember too, and I know we're running out of time now, but the force is all. Mm-hmm. The force is all. So the force is the yin and the yang. The force is everything. Everything, even those things that we feel are quote unquote bad, that we feel quote unquote evil, that we categorize things like that, which are also based on judgment and based on our cultural framework. How have we been brought up? What have we been inundated with that we think a certain way? Yeah.
Well, thank you. So we are going to our second break. And when we come back, we will be joined by the Realm of Beings, and they can share what they have to say about this quotation on peace. So thank you for joining us. We'll be right back. Hello, welcome back to Shifting Impressions. Thank you for listening. We are now joined by the Realm of Beings, and they will weigh in on this quotation that Greta and I have been talking about. Be at peace within your creation of reality, for you are all. Realm, are you with us?
Yep.
So Greta and I have been chatting about this piece, and we went down a myriad of roads, which were very interesting today. I opened the show saying, peace and joy and whatever, light to the solstice and all of that, the normal things we think about peace. But Greta brought up a really interesting point about when we find ourselves in the loop. And sometimes, like, the best way out of the loop is the lack of peace. So can you tell us more about that, or just share whatever you'd like?
Well, peace is a very interesting phenomenon. For the world, for instance, people get together throughout the world and pray for it. Let us pray for peace. So that collective has when you join that, you are in alignment with peace as a group. So you can have collective peace as well as individual peace. But then, what does it mean to you? Like you were saying, Leigh, being in one place, it's a whole ball game of peace. And then when you go, you're going to be somewhere else.
and you're going to be in that peace. So I like that quote. I love Fruit Loops. Now let's look at Fruit Loops. Everybody knows what Fruit Loops are here. Little circles of something to eat. And each circle is a different color. Fruit Loops looks fruity because of the different colors. That's peace. Peace is like Fruit Loops. It comes in many colors.
Many flavors.
Many flavors. And the colors and the flavors are based on where you are at in your creation of reality. It's you. Each person must look inside themselves to say, what is peace? What is not peace for me? And then if you're in a state of not being in peace, then figure out why. What is it that you keep creating that is making you feel not peaceful? Because now remember, the peace as you feel it, the peace as you conceptualize it is inside your brain. My sense of peace is different from your sense of peace, Leigh. My experience is different from your experience. And peace is an experience based on experiences. So therefore, your concept of peace and my concept of peace can never be the same. So one person's sense of peace, it's fruity Fruit Loops.
So, I mean, that's true. We started this conversation off about, you know, I think that conceptually there's probably an overarching idea of what peace is, this non-warring harmony. But I mean, from based on the conversation that we were having with Gretta, you know, some people can find peace in what others would view as chaos, right?
That's right. Somebody could be in war. You know, those wars back then, they were going around chopping people's heads off. So somebody go around and just chop somebody's head off. Say, yes, I've won. I've won. They're in peace. Now, the person whose head got chopped off may not be in peace. But the person who did the chopping, yes, I've won. I beat the enemy. I'm at peace. Yes.
And I mean, this brings us to a place where it almost seems foolhardy to even judge anything anymore outside of you, right? I mean,
absolutely. Why judge?
It just seems like such a futile waste of time to look outside of yourself and say, oh, this person, oh, they are doing something right. Oh, this person, they are doing something wrong. I mean,
correct.
That is a little bit of my takeaway from this conversation. I mean, it started at peace and here we are at judgment because but there's no time. I mean, I know time is an illusion also, but we have to just really work on what's happening with us and not worry about what's out of our hula hoop.
But see, Leigh, peace in itself is a judgment. You use that word just now, judgment. Yes. Peace itself is judgment. Yes.
Now you gave me something really to think about.
I must judge it. I must judge this experience to be peaceful for me or not to be peaceful for me. Or I watch it and where do I see peace? Based on where I'm at, what is peace to me? What is peace to the other person? That's why that analogy with the Fruit Loops is excellent.
See, sometimes we talk about chocolate, other times we're talking about Fruit Loops. It all depends what can be relatable. You never thought you'd look at Fruit Loops the same again.
Right, absolutely. Absolutely.
Shifting your impressions. Here we go.
Mm-hmm. Yes, myriad, peace. You look at a bowl of Fruit Loops, you can see all the probabilities of peace in the bowl. Every color, every one of them, a different probability in the bowl of peace. Peace is the bowl, but inside that bowl are all the different conceptualizations, the different thoughts of what peace is. And it's different for each person. However, our quote says, be at peace with whatever you have created. Be at peace. The thing is, though, is it a peace that you want to keep? Or is it a peace that you want to change? That is the question.
Yes, that is a big question. I think, well, we've shifted a lot of impressions today. So maybe in this time of the winter solstice and the darkness, people can do that internal work and contemplate things differently and review, their peace and, maybe take an inventory on the loops that they are playing in and if they're serving them or not.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's time for them to be, for all of us to be the divine, experience being the divine.
And thank you, Realm, for sharing your insights with us today. Thank you, listeners, for joining us. And until we create each other again, this has been Shifting Impressions.
Once again, thanks for joining us at Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings on TransformationTalkRadio.com. As you have explored today's creation of reality experience with Leigh, Yvonne, The Realm, and me, Gretta, each of you is being supported by us in further developing the understanding that you are not just an individual existing in linear time and space, but a multidimensional force of infinite possibilities who is connected to all. So begin to create the realities you want. Join us every Friday at 8 a.m. Pacific Time and 11 a.m. Eastern Time on Shifting Impressions at TransformationTalkRadio.com. So long until we create each other again next Friday.